All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whenever you're watching this, wherever you're watching this. This is Ruben, and if you hear music in the background, not sure what that is. But welcome to another session on e-commerce that we're doing here at Amsive. And today, I've got two special guests that are going to walk us through some last minute Black Friday hacks. And we call it last minute. It's like the last few things that you can do before you hopefully have your Black Friday, Cyber Monday campaigns in place. But, you know, there's that 2% that's always missing, or maybe those last few minute items that you can grab while you can and implement it. And so I've got two of our experts in house to kind of walk us through that. And I will invite Ina, who's been on before. Ina Zager, how are you?
Well, hello. Thank you for having me, Ruben. Really excited to have this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Remind us who you are and what you do again.
I do many things and wear many different hats, but I'm the VP of Digital Media here at Amsive. It's been almost 13 years, and I will say e-com is probably one of my favorite verticals of all time to work in. And so Black Friday, Cyber Monday, holiday shopping, it's like the Super Bowl, WrestleMania, whatever big major event you want to think about, that's probably my favorite time of year. So lots of experience there and excited to have this conversation.
Very good. And someone else that I've had on before, Lauren. I would say Lauren Bobo, but I gotta get used to the angle in between. Apparently, I think you got married, hence the angle, right? Lauren Engel.
I did, yes.
It's the weakest introduction I've ever done. And it is Christmas time in the Engel Bobo household.
It sure is. Yeah. I can take the intro from here, Ruben, if you'd
Yes.
like.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I am Lauren Bovo. I'm the Senior Director of Digital Media at Amsive. And just like Ina said, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, it's such an exciting time for our clients. So excited to chat with people and kind of share some last minute strategies on what we can do if you're looking at the calendar and realizing the time is now.
I know. Gosh, is it next week?
Like a
The
week
week
and a
I should
half.
know
after.
this. Week and a
Yeah.
half. Okay, and then you have Cyber Monday. And so we've gone through a number of these. Gosh, I've been here 18 years. Ina, you've been here over a decade. Lauren, you've been in the industry over a decade.
5 years. Lauren's 5 years now,
Years. Right.
anniversary.
At Amsive.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Congratulations. So you've
Thank you.
been through a number of these, and so hopefully we can get some insights. I wanted to, we had this before when we had Google on, just kind of like the different audience profiles, right? So I want to make sure I'm sharing my screen here. Kind of walks us through, hey, you've got the deliberate audience back in October, November, in around the cyber, late November, going into December, you have those deal seekers, right? So they're looking for a deal, and that's essentially the audience that we're kind of catering to during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then you have the more determined audience. So we're kind of shifting between those deal seekers and again the determined audience. If you don't know what this is about, I maybe we can drop a link in the comments and you can go back to that session. It's just more about planning for Q4. But I don't know if there's anything else to add to this, but this is kind of sets the table a little bit.
Yeah, totally does. And I think last time we talked about who falls into what category, and you're the very, very last minute of the shoppers, Ruben, the ones right at the shipping
I know.
deadline for Christmas.
I'm postseason, I guess, right? Because you can get deals then as well. There's a
Mhm.
lot going on. Maybe that's another session altogether. But there's several platforms. When you think about e-commerce, you think Amazon, you think Google, obviously now TikTok in the last few years. Um, but in our history together, we've shared some accounts where we go in and we're the first. It's our first treatment of a client's campaign, and we're inheriting a prior Q4, meaning another agency was handling it or they were handling it in house. And there was one in particular that stood out to me, and I think you both were on it, right? As far as we saw that they had created campaigns in the past historically, and they were creating new ad campaigns on Google specifically. Maybe, can you walk me through why would we not maybe want to create a new campaign for Q4?
Yeah.
It sounds counterintuitive, right? And when we say campaign, we're talking specifically about Google.
Yeah, come totally. And so I know that there's typically there's kind of two schools of thought, although I'm a big firm believer that having some consistency and continuity, especially with Google, especially if you're using algorithmic bidding like TCPA or TROAS, you really need to be mindful of any type of new campaign creation, what impact that'll have on the algorithm. So the more consistent you are, the sooner you can get campaigns into the marketplace, or just reuse some of the campaigns that you've been, consistently running during non-Black Friday, non-Cyber Monday, non-heavy promotion, the better off that you are. The algorithm is incredibly sensitive, and I'm not saying like, please don't, make any changes to those campaigns. We typically do, but it really does throw things back into learning. And while the intent might be, great, like, hey, we're going to launch these new campaigns, new keywords, whatever it may be, you often find that it's actually to the detriment of doing so. And I know Lauren has a lot of good tidbits coming up on some ways to manage that, because, with Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we often find that, it is live action happening in the moment, and sometimes you have to make changes. So there's a lot of ways that you can modify your campaigns without completely disrupting your funnel in a way that's going to tank performance.
Right. So headline there is like, don't look to completely introduce a new, again, Google campaign.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. So Lauren, what's your kind of go-to if you're going into Black Friday? What would you recommend, if anything?
I have
Well,
two.
hopefully you would recommend something, because this whole session's about recommending something. But go ahead.
Actually, I have nothing. I have nothing to share, Ruben. Keeping it in here. No, I have two really big tools that we keep in our toolkit for short promotions like this, especially around holidays. The first one being extensions on Google, primarily that promotion extension, where it creates a subset of your ad underneath your ad that shares whatever your sale is, whether that's 30% off, free shipping, a free item with purchase. And it doesn't disrupt your ad learnings. It keeps your existing ads running, but allows you to share that Black Friday, Cyber Monday messaging within that existing ad. Another good option with an extensions, you can also use site link extensions or even call outs to add on that there is a promotion happening, to just kind of expand upon what you're calling out and drawing more attention to that sale.
Yeah. And I
The
wanted
other big one,
I
oh,
want
go
to
ahead,
quickly
Ruben.
visually show. I quickly created a screenshot. So I
Yeah.
love the
Oh,
title. I think
good on you.
yeah, but
Yeah.
the title's wrong. It's not location ad. So when we talk about an extension, here's an example, right, of what it would look like. So
Yep.
Black Friday 20. So what you're doing is you're not. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. You're not creating a new campaign.
Nope.
This is an existing ad, and again, because of the sensitivity of the algorithms, you're not disrupting that. You're not totally disrupting that. You're just introducing a new additional unit to your current ad performance.
Correct.
And so what it does is that it kind of eases the volatility going into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but also beyond, right? You're not having to pivot. Essentially, I think, and again, you guys were on this particular account that you know what I'm talking about, is that we were, prior Q4s, they were creating new campaigns and then pivoting back to the old campaigns, totally disrupting the algorithm, as you were mentioning, Ina. All right.
Yeah,
So,
and to add to that, so a lot of the time, like I've seen this happen, like instead of reducing budgets on an existing campaign, we've seen situations where people just entirely pause campaigns instead of reducing budgets, which is also quite dangerous. And I'll say that when you pause a campaign, you're completely taking it out of the Google auction. It's essentially resetting all of your learnings, resetting everything. And so when you turn it back on again, it has to build from scratch. So your ad rank's gone, all of those like things of how it was chugging along nicely sort of disappears. So, there's often this expectation, well, hey, I paused this campaign, then I turned it on after, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. This is my regular evergreen campaign. There's an expectation that it's going to continue running the way it was, but it's not. It's completely new to the auction. So, there's other scenarios where, for example, you do want to be mindful of budget control when you're running, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or anything where there's a heavy promotion or a higher surge in demand
So,
coming in.
I want to get to that, but there was one more ad unit I think Lauren was going to hit on. But
Mhm.
I want to emphasize, like, we're talking macro with the algorithm, but that's a quick thing to implement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know people might be listening and like, oh my gosh, we didn't, we're creating all new campaigns, but there's still time. You can literally build this, in seconds, I would think, to implement into current ad strategy. But Lauren, there was another, like, I guess, additional unit besides this.
Yes.
What we call it, promotional ad extension. Is that the last one? And then there was
A
another one you
promotion
were going to
extension.
present.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
other one is an account level headline. This is a newer offering on Google's platform. It was in beta for a minute. I do believe it's rolled out a little bit more thoroughly now, but it essentially allows you to create a headline at the account level that you're able to then share something like Black Friday deals, 30% off Black Friday. And it just pushes out that headline to all ads running in your account without creating a new ad. So it's same thing. We're not disrupting the algorithm. We're not having to send ads back and learning, but it is creating that headline to at least allow you a little bit of copy to share across all of your ads that are currently in market.
So you're basically saying you input another headline here and it'll swap it, or you can pin it to come up first, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Got it. Okay.
Which is, again,
Um,
just like you're saying, Ruben, it's something that it can take you 30 seconds to create one. It's not too late to create this. It rolls out and it's a pretty high impact, low effort way to get your messaging out without disrupting the algorithm, without having long lasting effects into Q4, and with just a little bit of effort.
so we call that the promotion and then the additional headline,
Account level headline. Yep.
account level headline. And again, low effort, macro impact is what I'm hearing, right?
Yep.
So then, you getting into maybe bidding and budgets, and pivot back to that.
Yeah, I would say don't pause. Just don't pause campaigns
Okay.
unless you have no choice in the matter. Again, it's having evergreen campaigns running, what Lauren talked about with using ad extensions if you have to do things last minute, right? There's also, scenarios within bidding. So, like, for example, if you're using algo bidding, TCPA, TROAS, you may want to also give it an additional buffer, or change those bids to something that's a little bit higher to give yourself a little bit more wiggle room, because of course, heading into Black Friday, Cyber Monday, we expect more demand. The ROAS, the CPAs are going to be very, very different from what you typically see during non-heavy promotional periods. Now, I know every year that's changed quite a bit, because there's no such thing as just like Black Friday and Cyber Monday anymore. And November 1st hits, and maybe sometimes even earlier, and everybody is running a lot of their promotions. But there's a lot of user behavior that still persists, where you may have had your promotion that you intend to keep on Black Friday and Cyber Monday running much earlier. But people are still going to be checking in on Black Friday, on Cyber Monday throughout the weekend, with the hope that there's a better or a stronger promotion, even though there may not be. So that behavior will absolutely be there. So you expect significantly more demand. So you want to maybe adjust your budgets a little bit ahead of time. You may want to loosen up some of those TROAS or TCPA bids to capture that additional demand as well. And I don't know if we're ready to pivot to some things that we can do after Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but there's definitely some things you want to put into play before, right after it ends as well.
Right.
We can talk later.
I just want to make sure it is, the hey, stop, meaning don't pause. It's counterintuitive. So don't pause campaigns. Would you apply that to social as well, and some other platforms?
Um, yes. I mean,
Meaning
to
that
some.
thinking of, hey, don't go in and immediately disrupt. You still want to, on social, go by the same mechanism. I guess you're introducing new creative. How would you navigate social, given that, that thinking of not wanting to disrupt?
Depends on the social platform, but I would say you have a little bit more wiggle room with social ads than, like, let's say, with Google when it comes to introducing new creative. I'd still say introduce that new creative into existing campaigns. I've seen a mixed bag of, people creating new campaigns for new creative. But again, if you are using any sort of algorithmic bidding, in which case most social platforms are using that, whatever you can do to reduce any sort of major disruption and maintain the history on those campaigns is probably going to be for the best. But I would say, in the grand scheme of things, social does give you a little bit more wiggle room. I think it's something that businesses really need to assess based on how much conversion volume they're generating. So if you're getting, couple of conversions per day, I would say you really probably want to stick with keeping some of those campaigns running, because they do have the history. If you are getting a much, much higher volume of conversions, be it orders or something else, I would say that's where you have quite a bit more wiggle room if you want to just create separate campaigns for the holiday window. But it's like your mileage will vary, and it really depends on how much volume you're getting typically.
Lauren, what do you think is when is the best time to start these? If you have to create a new campaign, best practice for, again, you have new creative, you have a new campaign, you may still have some other campaigns running, and we're talking more social and maybe display and, non-search. Is there a best practice for getting those campaigns in market?
I would say based on when your sale is running is when you would want to actually set things live. The big opportunity here is that there will be so many ads uploaded to these platforms in the same time period. And all ads have to go through reviews by these publishers. And sometimes, as we have all experienced, ads get disapproved for erroneous reasons. You have to submit for a reapproval, a re-review. It can be a time-consuming process, taking a few days sometimes. So
Hmm.
the earlier you can get these ads uploaded into the platform, you don't have to set them live. You just have to upload them and get them in that review process so that they can go through review and be approved, ready for you to launch, is paramount. There is very little room for error with Black Friday and Cyber Monday because of the short time frames. It's not something that we can lean on waiting to upload ads on Thursday afternoon and expect them to be
Has that happened before,
100%.
guys?
Absolutely. I think we've all experienced that. We've
The
had
client,
clients
yeah.
calling us saying, hey, these ads aren't approved. Can you help us? Anything you can do? But just definitely ensuring that the earlier you can upload them, I'd say probably at least 7 days in advance to ensure that they are approved and run through that system. And you do have time to troubleshoot anything that does get kicked back.
So it's like, don't wait until the last piece of creative. If you've got like more
Yep.
than even 50% of your creative ready for, and again, we're talking more social, and it almost seems like Facebook gets, although it should be all AI, gets backlogged because of can you imagine the amount of new campaigns and creative going into the system? So best practice, get it in while you can, just to go through that review process, which could take, I know Facebook or Meta says maybe what, 48 hours. I forget what the latest is, but
Yeah, usually about there. The problem is, of course, is that sometimes they just get disapproved erroneously. An AI is checking it, it disapproves it for some reason. You have to resubmit for a manual review, and now you're just waiting in line, in the virtual line, to find a human to actually review it and approve that you're not doing something against Meta's policies.
yeah, can you imagine that? All the amount of effort that goes into creating new creative, new campaign, and then you miss out on hours on a Black Friday because you didn't upload your creative. So that's a
Right.
great last minute hack, is don't wait till the last minute on your creative.
Or don't wait to the last minute, or leave evergreen creative on, like we were
Yes.
talking about earlier. Like, look, at the end of the day, it may not have the exact promotion that you have, maybe something that's like a little bit more generic, may not have that information in there, but people are shopping, they are buying, they are very likely to click. So, it might not always be the exact message that you want or have the exact information, but you will not lose out on that sale when they
Well, and
actually get
that's
to the site.
a landing page becomes important
Yeah.
too, right? Making
Yeah.
sure that you've got the offer on the landing page so you can make the choice to auto apply discounts in the cart, or at least having a banner or a welcome ad that's popping up and saying, hey, there's a discount. So that way, even if your evergreen ads are driving traffic, they're still converting for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can also you can change the ad copy on existing creative as well, right? If you, again, were hampered by a review process, could you go in
It
and
would
do
still
that?
go back through that review
Mhm.
It would
process,
go through that
but
review.
wouldn't
Mhm.
bypass it. No.
Got it, got it.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I think the key here is it's like and by the way, we're in no way, shape, or form recommending like, hey, run messaging that doesn't 100%, always align with what your value prop is, but like this is the last minute hack. So like in case of emergency, instead of losing out on that traffic and time spent on those creatives, that evergreen piece will at least get the traffic to your door, and then you have to allow the site to work for you. So don't let, I guess, perfection get in the way of progress. And I know a lot of clients have like very strict and brand guidelines and want to make sure that it gets out, but sometimes you have to look at the profitability that you're missing out on, and it doesn't have to always be 100% perfect if the situation arises where your copy doesn't get approved.
Got it. So I'm here on Google, try not to create new campaigns, just add on to your existing ad copy, headlines, ad extensions. On social, yes, we expect you have new creative you would introduce, but don't neglect and think you're not going to use your existing. It's going to be your backup, or you'll run simultaneously just to get
Mhm,
traffic to your door.
mhm,
Um, how about audience?
mhm.
I get, do I sound very New York when I say audiences?
Yeah,
Remember?
It
you
shows in
do.
that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, audiences. I don't know how else do you say audiences?
Audiences,
Audience.
audience. I
Audience.
can't help, I sound just like Ruben when I say
Yeah,
it.
it just I haven't heard another version yet. So how about audiences? How do you
Um,
treat those, right? Or is that worth treating? And
I
what do
would
I mean by that?
say, yeah, I would say yes. And I mean, since we're talking about some, like last minute hacks and ways that we can really like supplement what we're already doing. One of my favorite things to do is, and then this is for clients who have CRM data available that extends well beyond the for like at least a year prior to Black Friday, Cyber Monday. The user behavior during Black Friday and Cyber Monday is quite different than what you typically get or see during the year. So, really effective way of being able to target audiences and build audiences that have those different behaviors is take a look and see if you can create lists in your CRM of Black Friday and Cyber Monday shoppers, or maybe even just whenever you were running the promotion for the previous year. Upload those into the various different platforms and then build lookalikes off of those audiences. You really want to be able to capture that very different behavior than you typically see during the year. You might also want to just take that, first party data and just target those users, because if they bought during Black Friday, Cyber Monday last year, then you really kind of want to get in front of them again during this upcoming Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
Yeah.
That's a really cool way to do it. And last thing I'll add to that is you can also do, if you have Google Analytics, if you've built out those lists the previous year, you can actually pass them through into Google Ads. But also, for this year, it might also be a good idea to start building out those remarketing audiences, because you can't really like populate them back so far in time. So something to think about once this Black Friday and Cyber Monday is done.
So what I'm hearing is you can take your customer file, either current customers in general or last year's Black Friday converters, people who have
Mhm.
purchased, upload them, because the idea is that there might be more efficiencies and or higher conversion rates because they bought from you in the past, right? Is
Yeah.
the idea is like you can saturate that audience first before prospecting more, if that's the goal, right? It's just to increase your sales. How else could you use that list? Oh, I guess if you use that list, how would you prospect more beyond that?
Yeah, I mean, that's where the lookalikes come in. Like Facebook lookalikes, you could still build similar audiences with a certain smaller subset of Google campaigns. Particularly on social, I think it's much more relevant because often we look at the middle funnel as lookalikes, right? Like upper funnel is going to be really like some of those native Facebook interests that are already built in. But then when you start really getting into the middle, that's where the lookalikes go are quite handy.
Hey, and Lauren, how long does this stuff take? Because we're talking about last minute Black Friday, Cyber Monday.
It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
be long. If you've got that CRM integration, it can be a one button press for some CRMs to upload into Google and Meta. Other times it's just as simple as downloading the audience and re-uploading it into the platform. It's not a complicated or long drawn out process.
Yeah, and I guess by platform, how long would these audiences take, right? Again, because this is last minute. If I'm watching this today, will it take a couple of days to upload, or it depends on the platform?
Most of them are uploading within the hour. Takes maybe 24 hours, 48 hours to actually fully populate for the matching process to happen. And then again, if you're trying to make a lookalike, it might take another few hours just to generate the lookalike, but
Right.
very easy to do right now to get set up for Black Friday.
Got it. And you, correct me if I'm wrong, guys. You could do your current audience, meaning your current customers, or last Black Friday, Cyber Monday audience, and then would you then exclude them for the lookalikes, right? So you almost have two campaigns. Is that best practice?
I mean,
No.
It kind of,
meaning if you
I
want
don't know
to
that the messaging would be too different for those two
no,
audiences unless
but
you specifically have
would you
creative that says
saturate
come back.
would you saturate one and then prospect on the other because you would expect different conversion rates? Is there
I think
any
it depends.
exclusions that you think you would apply to this? Or
It
no?
depends on the vertical, right? If it's a
Yeah.
subscription base, we would obviously want to exclude our current subscribers. If it's, recent purchasers and it's not a product that you purchase frequently, if you're not purchasing something monthly, we would want to exclude frequent purchaser or recent purchasers. It just depends on what your purchase cycle is like, what your buying cycle is.
Got it. All right. So I guess, you're in flight, going into Cyber Monday. Are there things that we need to be aware of? Or I think, you were going to talk about promotional strategies beyond Black Friday that we should be mindful of.
But before in flight and during in flight, this is so tiny, but such a big one. And I don't know how many times I've seen this happen. Yeah, check your insertion orders across all of your platforms. If you have a line of credit or invoicing, check to make sure you have enough money on there.
It's a big one.
Because yeah, it's like something people sometimes forget to think about.
Gosh.
There is nothing worse than having an ad pop up, like just having your ad account like just run out of budget in the middle of Black Friday or Cyber Monday, and then you have to go back to Facebook or to Google and beg them, because I have had to beg them to help reinstate things. And again, it's a tiny little thing, but check those things right now, like immediately, just ASAP.
Credit cards as well. Make sure your credit card limit is high enough, that you've got sufficient funds on whatever account you're using. We've seen it all. I've called so many people on Black Friday at 10 a.m. saying, your credit card is declined. Please put a different card on. I'm trying to get a hold of somebody.
Yeah.
So
it's a small thing, but it's not a small thing, right?
Oh, no, it's not. Amexes are notorious for it. Like, I would say call up your Amex or any other card, because like the charges become frequent. Like for Facebook, if you're using a credit card, there's like a maximum amount that you can bill. I think a couple of $1,000s, but because you start getting numerous charges hitting the card, like in the same day, they're going to be like, oh no, it's fraud. So you could also call them in advance and let them know that that's going to happen. I know this is like not sexy and not like media focused, but it's one of those like absolutely we always have to check that off on our list before
Especially if it's
Black
the
Friday,
Super
Cyber Monday
Bowl. It's the Super Bowl of e-commerce.
hits.
Expect more velocity. That small little thing can trip you up, and it's, again, what we've witnessed with clients.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like at the account level, make sure you have maybe your payment method is backed is maybe there's a backup as well. But then there's the
Cash
credit
money.
limit, which is different, right? Is making sure your credit limit within the accounts, right, are
Mm.
higher.
Yeah, lines
Um,
of invoicing, that's a separate thing. Like you just have to check all of that well beforehand. And it's a simple thing that quite a few people can forget to do. Um, cannot underpin how important that is. There's a couple of other things. So, like, let's say we're done with Black Friday, Cyber Monday. One of my favorite tools, and this is specific to Google, is I don't know how many people use seasonality adjustments, as
Oh,
well as
love
data
these.
exclusions. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. So here's kind of the lay of the land, right? Where um, we see
Seasonality adjustments just sounds funny.
well, it's a
Like
seasonality
your mood
adjustment,
change at all, or
huh?
sorry, I like
Yeah, you
joking.
said it.
What do you mean by seasonality adjustments? Go
Oh, yeah, no, I was gonna talk it through in just a moment. So just setting the stage. So Black Friday, so much demand. Your conversion rates are massively high. You're getting like boatloads of sales. Everything is running amazingly. Slows down a little bit over the weekend as it typically does. Cyber Monday hits, everything's going swimmingly. What happens on Tuesday? Well, Tuesday is going to be a pretty rough day, or could be a pretty rough day, because again, we've been talking about algorithmic bidding. While algorithms are really, really smart, they're really predicated on making assumptions on how campaigns have been running that entire time. So they're taking into account the amount of demand that's been generated in previous days, the conversion rates, click through rates, whatever it may be, but just it is looking at historical data. So what happens on Tuesday? Well, your definitely conversion rates are not going to be anywhere near as high, even if you are doing an extended Cyber Monday promotion. There's just less demand, or at least the shopping behavior has shifted. But the algorithm doesn't know it yet. So, a really effective tool to use is a seasonality adjustment in Google, which essentially is saying, hey, for this date range, let's say starting Tuesday, why for either this set of campaigns or for the entire account, let's assume our conversion rate is going to be X% lower than it was in the previous days. So you're essentially telling Google, like, hey, I'm not going to be converting nearly as well this upcoming day or for whatever duration of time. So stop serving my ads as much, stop blowing through my budget. The demand isn't there, the conversion rates aren't there. So that way it forces, instead of allowing the algorithm to naturally come back, typically it's such a stark drop off in conversion rate that you want to have something in place to mitigate that, instead of just allowing it to run and you see performance tank in terms of orders, but you're still serving and spending the same amount that you were during that Black Friday through Cyber Monday window. Cannot underpin that. It's pretty useful, and we don't just do it for e-commerce. It's used in different ways for lead gen, and it's also something you can use during any sort of heavily promotional period. So definitely recommend looking into that. You can look at last year's Black Friday, Cyber Monday behavior and see how much your conversion rates dropped off afterwards to make an educated assumption on how much lower that conversion rate could be to include in the seasonality adjustment. It doesn't have to be for your entire account. It could be on a set of campaigns. So very, very useful tool. And data exclusions is just the other side of that. And it literally just says, do not count these days at all in your calculations for how you're going to serve. Very useful if, like, let's say a tracking
We're
comes
talking
out.
Google here, but are you also
Yeah, we're talking
social?
Google.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, like it's a very, very useful tool. I've audited a number of accounts and I've seen it underutilized or never utilized, but it should be utilized a lot more than what I've historically seen.
Yeah, you just don't think
It's
about that necessarily.
Yeah, you don't.
Hidden.
You just assume it's gonna figure it out, and, it's smart, and it can do things, the algorithm, but it's not perfect. It's only as good as the data you're giving it,
Yeah,
and how you're managing it.
very good. Okay. Lauren, anything else before we kind of summarize all this? I feel like we've hit a lot, actually.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
we've covered everything. I mean, especially when we're just talking last minute things, right? What
Yeah.
what can you still do at this point in the game? I feel like we've covered a lot of that.
I
Yeah.
got one more. I got one
More.
more. One more. I promise. I talk about this usually later on when it comes to the holiday shipping cutoff.
Oh yeah.
Uh, yeah, this one's like, and again, I'm only bringing it up at the end because typically, like, let's say you're on retail.com, so on Amazon.com, Walmart.com. It usually has, shipping that's available much closer to Christmas. They'll have like 2-day shipping. Most client sites or most advertisers I've seen, the shipping deadlines like the 14th, 15th, the 16th, 17th, maybe the latest before, while you can still guarantee that product can go out. So we usually say like, hey, in those instances, if you're on Amazon or on Walmart or other places, you can always shift your advertising to drive to those places. Now, obviously, it's not going to sell on your website, but you can still get those sales and you can shift Google ads, most of your paid social to drive traffic there. In the case of emergency, during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, you could also do the same thing if you need to, or if you have a more compelling promotion on like an Amazon or a Walmart available to you, if that's where you want to push sales. So I know we've been largely talking about the Google and the Meta ecosystem, but there's so much more, especially with retail.com. So those
Yeah,
are decisions you can make.
that's a biggie. So so that, but technically walk me through that. You would just change the link
Change
of
your
your ads over to
Mhm,
the Amazon store.
mhm.
That's pretty smart.
Bingo.
Yeah.
I've seen, so this is one of those scenarios where it makes sense to have separate campaigns if you're going to do that, because you really can only have like one domain to drive traffic to in your campaigns. So you definitely want to maybe make up another set of campaigns if that's what you're intending to do. Also to reduce any sort of like disruption to your existing campaigns. Because remember, if you're driving traffic to an Amazon or to a Walmart from Google Ads, you're not getting conversion data there. You're just driving traffic. So, like, let's say you do want to re-enable your old campaigns that are driving traffic to your site. Like I said, you don't want to pause things, or you might want to just reduce those budgets to avoid any sort of hiccups there. But you also don't want to give it that space to not be driving conversions. But if you do, you can use data exclusions. Aha, it's
Good
full
callback.
circle. Yeah, you can use data exclusions for any window of time where you may have been driving traffic elsewhere off your site, to an Amazon or a Walmart, during those periods of time, to prevent it from taking it into consideration for future ad serving.
So I'm trying to distill this down for someone who's not as much in the weeds, right? So the takeaways that I'm hearing from this is, number one, make sure that from a practical level across all these platforms, your credit is applied appropriately. You've got payment methods. Uh, is that me or you guys? That's you. Okay. What is that, if you don't mind me asking?
Your
So
fire alarm, I
fire
think, is what it
alarm,
sounded like. Oh,
very
good guess. Yeah.
apropos. Yeah, yeah. So payment methods, just make sure that you have a backup payment method, or that you at least let your American Express that some more charges are coming through. That your credit limits within these platforms are appropriate and not going to cut you off.
Yep.
Don't create new campaigns necessarily. Expect, at least in Google, to leverage your existing campaigns. Just introduce new ad copy into the existing ads, like
Yep.
extensions. I also heard, maybe be strategic with your audiences, like your last year's Black Friday audience, or your customer base, as well as lookalike audiences. And then I've heard that seasonality adjustment, right? Just so that you are preparing to bid more efficiently. And then I'm hearing, hey, inventory levels are low, or you are out of, um, uh, you're basically out of stock, but you're not out of stock on Amazon. You can, in that case, create new campaigns and drive them to your Amazon store, so you're not missing out on incremental sales.
Yep.
Did I
Well,
capture
quick
everything?
correction on the last one is that it
Yep.
would also include if you've missed your shipping deadline from your
Ah, right,
personal
right, right, right.
website. If
Yep.
Walmart or Amazon is maybe still offering 2-day shipping and that shipping deadline is shorter, that could be another case outside of out of stock.
Very good. Okay. I introduced Ina, and now I will say farewell. So, anything else before we go into Black Friday, Cyber Monday?
That's all it.
Any sanity things you can do. Just keep yourself calm going into it as well.
Um, have a
I'm
plan.
sorry, I said Ina, but okay, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I got it. Have a plan, know your plan, have a communication strategy. If you're working with an agency, maybe get a cell phone number of somebody to call both ways in case we do need to call you as well in case something does happen. And enjoy the ride a little bit. It's an exciting time. It's fun to watch the data come in. It's fun to watch the sales happen. It's fun to see all your work come to a head with success. And, hopefully on Black Friday, you're enjoying it with some leftovers and some, stretchy pants, enjoying it from Thanksgiving. So just trying to make fun of it, have some fun.
Very good. Okay. I know Ina's in the middle of a fire alarm. Well, come on, try to brave through it. Come on, say goodbye at least through the fire alarm. No, you're not going to get off mute. All right. Thank you guys. I really appreciate this. This was great. So I'll let you guys go. And I want to remind you guys this is going to continue to happen. In 3 weeks, we're going to have another special session. First of all, I want to, again, thank my guests for coming on, Ina and Lauren, to kind of give us some last minute Black Friday hacks. We'll post this on YouTube and the blog as well with the transcript. But next session in 3 weeks, we're going to have a special guest on from Social Snowball, which is an influencer affiliate marketing product solution that I've been hearing about and I'm interested in learning more about. So I figured I'd learn with you guys. So we're going to have them on in 3 weeks. I guess that's it. I wish you guys a great holiday. Hopefully, in the chaos of all this, you'll also be able to spend some time with family and eat some food and again just have a good time. So whether you're watching this morning, afternoon, or evening, or now live, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next time.